Hello, Dorina here, and this is ACI Course 1, The Principal Teachings of Buddhism. We're at Class 7, Bodhicitta and its Benefits. Last time, we completed our discussion of the first principal path, renunciation. Over 2 classes, we learned what renunciation was, as well as what samsara was, and since that's what we are trying to avoid when we renounce. In addition, we studied some meditations to help develop renunciation, such as contemplating our leisure and fortune, the certainty of death, the 8 worldly thoughts, and how they serve to chain us to samsara, and the 6 problems of human life. We also learned how to know when you've got renunciation. One of the other things is we began our study of karma by learning the 4 principles of actions. This let us see how our thoughts, speech, and actions keep us chained to samsara, and also how, if we can begin to shift our karma, we can create a world free of suffering. This class begins our exploration of the second principal path, bodhicitta. At the end of this class, you should know the definitions of bodhicitta, bodhisattva, listeners, self-made Buddhas, and be able to explain the benefits of bodhicitta. And then next class we'll talk about how to develop bodhicitta. So let's get up to date. We've actually completed a lot of our root text. And it goes like this. I bow to all the high and holy lamas. As far as I am able, I'll explain the essence of all the high teachings of the victors, the path that all the holy sons commend, the entry point for the fortunate seeking freedom. Listen with a pure mind, fortunate ones, who have no craving for the pleasures of life, and who, to make leisure and fortune meaningful, strive to turn their minds to the path which pleases the victors. There's no way to end without pure renunciation, this striving for pleasant results in the ocean of life. It's because of their hankering life as well that beings are fettered, so seek renunciation first. Leisure and fortune are hard to find. Life's not long. Think it constantly. Stop desire for this life. Think over and over how deeds and their fruits never fail, and the cycle suffering. Stop desire for the future. When you've meditated thus, and feel not even a moment's wish for the good things of cyclic life, and when you begin to think both night and day of achieving freedom, you've found renunciation. Renunciation, though, can never bring the total bliss of matchless Buddhahood, unless it's bound by the purest wish. And so, the wise seek the high wish for enlightenment. And that's where we are right here. And the high wish for enlightenment is another way of saying bodhicitta. So the way the text has gone so far is that the high teachings of the victors being enlightened beings or Buddhas, and the path of the holy sons being bodhisattvas. So that's what we're trying to do. That's our entry point, is to follow that path, and we're the fortunate ones seeking freedom. So it says, hey, listen to this. Those of us fortunate ones who are interested in getting out of this, he's going to tell us what to do. And the first thing is to have no craving for the pleasures of life, and to focus on our leisure and fortune to make it meaningful, to get on the path. So that he's talking about cultivating renunciation. And he's giving us the reasons, which we've already gone through, that the pleasant results, that they're really suffering also, and that we're actually chained here, and it's not a pleasure to keep coming back. And it's hard to find leisure and fortune. Life is not long, and we need to think about it constantly, stop desire for this life. Think over and over how karma never fails, and how karma keeps us in the cycle suffering. That helps us stop desire for the future. We know we have renunciation when we think about it night and day of how we want to get out of samsara. But that's not going to be enough to bring us to Buddhahood, right? We cannot get to Buddhahood unless we also have the purest wish, which is the high wish for enlightenment. So bodhicitta, as I've just saying, is that high wish for enlightenment. Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word and is literally translated as Buddha, mind. So it's Buddha mind. The Tibetan is Janjub Kisem, which can be shortened to Jangsem or Semki. And the definition by Maitreya The short definition, we're going to be able to have the long definition in another course, is the wish to achieve total enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And we say total enlightenment to distinguish it between the enlightenment that's just nirvana, which is the enlightenment that is reaching the end of all our mental afflictions, but not having the two bodies of a Buddha that you get with the total enlightenment. So you want to reach total enlightenment. And why? Because you really want to benefit all human beings. And the only way to really benefit human beings is to be a totally omniscient Buddha. Now, a bodhisattva is someone that simply has bodhicitta. So that's the definition. A bodhisattva, bodhi again would be Buddha, and sattva is going to be our warrior. So it's basically someone who has bodhicitta, who wants to, is going to make it to Buddhahood. You become a bodhisattva the first moment true bodhicitta arises in your mind or heart. But you don't really reach the first bodhisattva level until you have perceived emptiness directly. There are 10 bodhisattva levels before one reaches Buddhahood, and these are referred to as the bodhisattva bhumis. Now, the question in everyone's mind is going to be, hey, what is true bodhicitta? Because I want to know if I've got bodhicitta, because it says I have to have it arise in my mind or heart, this true bodhicitta. How do I know if I've had this realization, right? This is the second principal path, achieving bodhicitta. Well, to answer that question, we need to talk about the stage before true bodhicitta, which is referred to as sugarcane bodhicitta. It is called sugarcane because it's sweet, but not as sweet as true bodhicitta. Sugarcane bodhicitta is a preliminary stage to realizing true bodhicitta. The difference between sugarcane bodhicitta and true bodhicitta is that the sugarcane variety is a conscious and active process. It takes effort. True bodhicitta is going to be effortless. So with sugarcane bodhicitta, you need to think about it to keep it alive. You have to be consciously aware of it. You need to think, hey, I want to achieve enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, and keep that in your mind. In contrast, true bodhicitta is a realization. It results in a change in the mind, heart that has the experience. Now, typically, this path, just like the path of renunciation and the path of wisdom, or correct view, they're realized during meditation. So you move up, you have these realizations during a meditative moment. When you get true bodhicitta, it is experienced as light energy coming out of one's heart and reaching out to the multitudes of beings. So that is one description of how true bodhicitta is experienced. Now, true bodhicitta is not lost. Even when the bodhisattva becomes angry, they still have bodhicitta. So it's a realization. It changes the mind and heart of the person who holds it, so that it can't just dissipate. And then, therefore, every action that takes place after one has bodhicitta is always going to be under the influence of bodhicitta. You can't do anything after that unless it does have this taste of bodhicitta to it. So all actions of the bodhisattva become infused with bodhicitta, and all mind states become infused with bodhicitta. So it's a different kind of it's something that's held in the mind and heart in a different way than a thought would be. Now, getting bodhicitta is more valuable than pretty much every other realization, including reaching nirvana. Now, that's a pretty fantastic claim. Nirvana ends the suffering of only one individual, and bodhicitta is a commitment to end the suffering of all individuals. So that's why it is so much more important. In nirvana, only one individual has stopped suffering. And with bodhicitta, there's a commitment to end the suffering of all individuals. The sages have always saying that being able to do fantastic things like bilocate or read people's minds or any kind of other magical things that high-level practitioners are able to do is really a waste of spiritual energy when compared to the realization of bodhicitta. Now, we're going to spend the rest of this class talking about the benefits of getting bodhicitta, and your meditation assignment will be on meditating about the benefits of bodhicitta. And then next class, we're going to talk about how you get it. Now, so let's start off with what the second path gives you, or what it sets you apart from. First off, it's going to set you apart from the lesser scope practitioners. These are Buddhist practitioners who are just trying to keep from falling to the lower realms when they die. It also sets you apart from medium scope practitioners. Those are the people who want to get enlightened. They want to get out of samsara, and they want to reach nirvana, but they're not focused on other people. So this is lesser scope and medium scope is your Hinayana practitioners. And then so you are now, once you've got bodhicitta, are a greater scope person. You want to reach Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings, and that's what moves you into the greater scope practitioner. You're a Mahayana practitioner now. So you've moved out of Hinayana into Mahayana. You have the same motivations as lesser and medium scope practitioners, but you're set apart from them in the sense that you also have you have Mahayana motivation. In addition, it sets you apart from listeners and self-made victors. Now, listeners and self-made victors are arhats, and an arhat is a person that has reached nirvana and permanently ended all their mental afflictions. They are considered enlightened, but not totally enlightened. Here we are saying that bodhicitta is more valuable and precious than even reaching nirvana again. So we're emphasizing it by saying that the bodhisattva is set apart from a listener and a self-made victor. Let's describe in detail what a listener and a victor are, so that you have those definitions for yourself. Now, listeners are arhats, right? An arhat is going to be someone who's permanently ended their mental afflictions. They've reached nirvana. And they are arhats that are able to hear the higher teachings, Mahayana Buddhism, and can even relate them to others, but they do not practice them personally. So they don't have bodhicitta. For whatever reason, they haven't realized that. A self-made victor is also called a self-made Buddha. Sometimes it's referred to as a solitary realizer. Now, even though it's called a self-made Buddha, they're not Buddhas at all. You know, they're arhats again, so they're enlightened beings, but they're not totally enlightened. And the reason they're called self-made is because they have had no spiritual guide in this life. And they also reach nirvana, but not Buddhahood, since they don't have the bodhicitta. So let's go through and look at the benefits of bodhicitta. We're going to go through, and I have 9 of them to list. Your homework is going to ask for, I think, 6 of those. So pick the 6 that you like to memorize, and the rest you can just keep in your notes. Number 1, if you have bodhicitta, your good deeds are a cause for omniscience. So our first benefit of bodhicitta is that basically, because you have bodhicitta, now your good deeds are going to be a direct cause for omniscience. And I had to think about this a little bit, because it's actually your merits lead to your form body, and your collection of wisdom leads to your Dharma body, which is where your omniscience kind of section of you. And I think what we're saying here is that without bodhicitta and without accumulating the collection of merit, you don't become a Buddha at all. So if you have bodhicitta, your good deeds are a cause for omniscience. Now, there's some talk that you have to actually be at the first bodhisattva level to actually start accumulating your collection of merit and wisdom. And before that, your merit doesn't go into creating those bodies. And I think it's kind of a moot point, because the truth is any merit you do is going to lead you, it's part of the path to whether it's going to be you're creating merit so that you actually get renunciation, or you can actually get bodhicitta, or you can actually have realizations. And all those things will eventually lead to Buddhahood. So I think at this point, what they're trying to distinguish is that you're a little bit closer, and now you're in the, if you're bodhicitta at the first bodhisattva level, you're a stream enterer, so you're on the conveyor belt on your way to Buddhahood. And so anything you do at this point will lead to that happening directly, without any sidetracks, hopefully. Our second benefit is that you are a person worthy to be bowed down to by humans and gods. And in this case, gods are pleasure beings. They're the beings that are in the higher realms. So the lower realms are your animals, hungry ghosts, and the hell beings. And then there's also pleasure realms that are kind of above humans. They're a little bit less suffering, but they're still samsaric in the fact that when the pleasure beings die, they typically fall down, and they typically have used up a lot of their merit being in one of these more heavenly kind of realms. But here again, usually our bodhisattva is not too concerned about having people bow down to them, but it's a way of reminding ourselves that it's really, really incredible and valuable to have bodhicitta, to have that wish, that high wish. Number 3, we've already talked about this, is that you outshine listeners and self-made Buddhas. Again, being a bodhisattva, having a realized bodhicitta, you are a class above. You have something more valuable than someone who's even ended all their mental afflictions. So this is just letting you know to let us that don't have bodhicitta say, hey, this is really something valuable to cultivate. Number 4. The very teeniest good deed you do is 2 things. It's Mahayana Dharma, and it is a cause for Buddhahood. So the emphasis in this benefit is that if you feed a crumb to a bird, you are doing Mahayana Dharma. You're doing a high good. So everything you do when under the influence of bodhicitta becomes more potent. We talked a little bit about karma last class, and we talked about that there's other circumstances or characteristics that can make a karma stronger, and definitely being done under the influence of bodhicitta is going to make something a stronger deed, and it's going to be you're accumulating your massive merit, your collection of merit, so it's a cause for Buddhahood. Now this one is really similar to the next one, which is the smallest action you do is the activity of a bodhisattva. So this is, it's like, well, how is this different from the one before? And the way I think about this one is, in the one before I'm doing a small good deed, and in this one I'm doing stuff that maybe is normal. And so for me, if I have bodhicitta, I wake up in the morning, I make myself breakfast, I eat breakfast. That is the activity of a bodhisattva. I brush my teeth. That is the activity of bodhisattva. So I'm not making breakfast for me. I'm making breakfast for the benefit of all sentient beings. I am feeding myself, I'm taking care of my teeth for the benefit of all sentient beings. So change is potent. Everything becomes more potent that a bodhisattva does, because everything they do is for the benefit of all sentient beings. So it's almost like there's no neutral activities anymore. Because at any one time, a neutral activity like watching TV even becomes for the benefit of all sentient beings. The bodhisattva is relaxing so that they can be more effective on the path. Number 6, the Buddhas consider you a son or daughter. So when you get bodhicitta, you get a whole new family. The Buddhas look down and say, hey, someone has joined our family. We have a new son or daughter. We have a new child. The bodhisattvas look over, since all the other bodhisattvas are then going to be children of the Buddhas as well, they consider you a brother or sister. They look and say, hey, we've got a new brother or sister. There's this family of people who are trying to get all of the sentient beings enlightened, free of suffering. And so you've joined this family, and you're special and you're precious because of that. And you're going to get more and more help because of that. Our 8th benefit is you have entered into Mahayana, which is the same thing as saying you have bodhicitta. By achieving the wish, you've entered into the greater way, which is referred to as Mahayana, which is literally big capacity. So Mahayana, we were talking, as opposed to Hinayana, which is the lower way, meaning that you've taken on a greater responsibility. You want to help all sentient beings. So in some ways, this is a benefit, but it's also kind of a definition. I mean, you have bodhicitta, you're Mahayana. So you've gotten into this, you're in the greater way now. It sets you apart from everyone else. You've got this greater responsibility. So almost like, hey, you have one of the benefits of having bodhicitta is having bodhicitta. So in being part of that group of people and with taking on that responsibility. And our final one that we're going to talk about, number 9, is if you have bodhicitta, you can become a Buddha in one lifetime. So this is a big one. You don't have to come back. You can actually change your body. You can end suffering. You can end aging. You can end sickness. You do not have to die. You can become a Buddha in one lifetime. And the way to do that is to practice the secret teachings. So once you have bodhicitta, and we talked about this in the first class, Mahayana or Tantric practices work when you have these 3 realizations. When you have renunciation, bodhicitta, and correct view. So this is homework 7. We're going to have the usual questions, and I think you have everything you need to answer those questions. Your memorization assignment will be memorizing the 3rd verse of the 3 principal paths, which goes, "There is no way to end without pure renunciation, the striving for the pleasant things in the ocean of life. It is because of this hankering as well that beings are fettered, so seek renunciation first." Your meditation will be on the benefits of the wish for enlightenment. So which is a good way to memorize those benefits whilst you're ready for your quiz. In the next class, we will talk about the 7-step process for developing bodhicitta. And that should be really good. You'll be ready for that when you think about, how good it's going to be to get it. And remember to record the date and time of your meditation. We've done an incredible thing. We've studied bodhicitta, and you know how important that is. So let's dedicate this virtue for the benefit of all sentient beings. Bless you.